Guess the decade. A brass house key on a shoelace, a beige wall phone with a 50-foot cord, and WPIX or a local independent station flickering on at 4:07. Between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. in 1984, millions of kids run a shift nobody in 2026 really runs anymore. Act 1. Setup. By 1984, the phrase latchkey child is already in national circulation. Newsweek uses it in the 1970s. Childcare researchers track it. And parents feel its sting. The school day ends before the adult workday does. A house key becomes a tiny piece of family policy. The wider world is humming. Ronald Reagan is president. Ghostbusters and The Karate Kid are in theaters. MTV is only 3 years old. On network afternoons, game shows and soaps own the big stations, while independent UHF channels feed kids reruns, local hosts, and cartoons with a little static at the edges. Now, the stake. Mothers' labor force participation keeps rising, and after-school care is uneven, expensive, or simply unavailable. Older siblings cover for younger ones. A note on the refrigerator says what to eat, what not to touch, and which number to call if something feels wrong. Here's the thing. The ritual solves boredom, yes, but also timing, secrecy, and pride. Kids learn to enter an empty house, lock the door behind them, make a snack, and sound calm on the phone. Childhood looks a lot like shift work. Act 2. Rise. The first move is mechanical. Key and lock. Backpack dropped. Sneakers kicked off. A hand reaches for the Zenith or Magnavox knob and waits through the warm electronic smell while the CRT brightens from a dot to a room-filling rectangle. Then comes the food. Not curated, not supervised, and very specific. A bowl of Kellogg's Frosted Flakes at 4:15. Saltines with Jif peanut butter, Kraft singles folded onto white bread. Sometimes a Swanson Hungry Man in the freezer, with strict instructions about oven versus microwave. Outside, another pattern takes over the block. Kids disappear onto BMX bikes, banana seat stragglers still hanging on. Baseball cards clipped in spokes for engine noise. No texts, no tracking. The rule is simple. Be back when the streetlights come on, or before Dad's Oldsmobile turns in. That's spread because it is cheap and self-running. Independent stations know the hour. Advertisers know it too. After-school blocks push Scooby-Doo, the Flintstones, and Gilligan's Island reruns, then pitch snacks, toys, and cereals directly into a room where no adult is standing nearby. Homework fits into the slot, but loosely. A Mead notebook opens on the kitchen table. Multiplication first, maybe. Then, a call to a friend on the Bell system line, stretching the spiral cord into a hallway for privacy while someone asks, "What pages did she say?" And here is the peak moment. In the mid-1980s, the after-school hour hardens into routine strongly enough that Congress notices. Concern over self-care children grows through the decade. By 1984, latchkey is no fringe label. It is a mainstream category, and kids know exactly what it means. The culture keeps feeding that window. ABC launches the ABC After School Special years earlier, and by 1984, its title alone signals the topic. Drug pressure, divorce, peer panic, growing up too fast. Television is talking to kids who are physically alone, in real time. Retail follows close behind. 7-Eleven, mall arcades, Little League diamonds, and convenience stores become unofficial waiting rooms between school and supper. A quarter disappears into Pac-Man, or Galaga. A cherry Slurpee sweats through a paper cup. Nobody calls it a system, but it absolutely is. Act 3. Fall or twist. The twist is that this famous freedom is built on adult absence. Pop culture later paints 1984 afternoons as loose, golden autonomy. Hold on to that detail. The original conversation is sharper. Experts and journalists are worrying about safety, loneliness, and children managing emergencies alone. The anxiety is measurable. In 1984, the census counts millions of children regularly in self-care for at least part of the week. Advocacy groups push more after-school programs. Schools, churches, and YMCAs try to fill the gap. The problem is not fictional. It is administrative, daily, and huge. Media starts sanding the edges. By the 1990s, the latchkey kid turns into a personality type in sitcoms and think pieces. The key around the neck reads as toughness. What gets blurred is the practical load, defrosting dinner, minding siblings, ignoring knocks, and judging whether a strange sound matters. By 2026, many of the props still exist, but the shift itself is harder to find. Smart locks log arrivals. Phones stay in pockets. Streaming kills the scheduled 4 o'clock block. Parents text from the parking lot. Organized after-school programs swallow hours that once belonged to loose neighborhood improvisation. Some objects survive in thrift store silence. A coiled phone cord, yellowed at the ends. A metal lunchbox with one dented corner. A Panasonic cassette deck with the clack still intact. They look ordinary until you realize they were tools in a tiny daily operation run by children. The neighborhood itself has changed. Fewer kids roam without contact. Traffic is heavier in many suburbs. Stranger danger culture leaves a long shadow after the 1980s and 1990s. Liability rules close some of the informal spaces where kids once waited out the clock with a ball, a bike, and a quarter. And some of the vanished habits are startlingly exact. Kids in 1984 memorize phone numbers because they have to. They listen for the garage door as a deadline. They flip the TV to channel 11 or 5 because programming is local and time-bound. Miss it, and it is gone. That is why the 4 to 6 shift feels so specific. It is not one toy, one show, or one fad. It is a choreography of ordinary objects. Key, cord, cereal bowl, bike tire, homework page, microwave beep. Every item is small. Together they describe an entire social arrangement. If you want a date stamp, look at the infrastructure. The Bell system breakup hits in 1984. Cable expands, but many kids still live by broadcast schedules. Microwaves are common, but not universal. Home computers are arriving, though plenty of afternoons still run on analog instinct and local geography. That makes the real lost thing easy to miss. Kids in 1984 are often practicing unsupervised competence long before adults use that phrase. They are not composing a personal brand. They are checking the note, feeding the dog, keeping the little brother occupied, and trying not to burn the pizza rolls. The mystery object is not the key or the TV guide. It is the empty house itself. That quiet between the final bell and the first adult voice is the artifact. It shapes a generation so thoroughly that many people later describe it as normal. My archivist's note is simple. The 1984 after-school ritual tells you how a country reorganizes family time without announcing it. The evidence sits in plain sight on a countertop. A key, a snack, a handwritten note, a channel preset. Small clues, big rearrangement. All right, I'm closing the file on that 2-hour shift. Lock that memory in the vault, and I'll see you in the next case. Which one of these had you forgotten until just now?